where it's still pretty tough to get in, is Indiana Notre Dame. They are pumped about this game in the South Bend. It's going to be very exciting. You and I are going to be there.
Electric.
It's going to be awesome. This is a place that's been clamoring for a game like this for a long time. Notre Dame hasn't won a game like this in a long time, like 1995, because they didn't win a BCS Bowl. They didn't win a New Year's Six Bowl when they were playing, when there was a 14 playoff. They didn't win any of the semifinals in the 14 playoff. This is a fan base that is starved to win a game like this. And I have a clip here from Marcus Freeman's press conference on Sunday. And it's interesting because with Notre Dame, it always seems to come back to the Northern Illinois game. So let's hear what Marcus Freeman has said recently about what that game did for them, to them, and if he's thinking about it now.
This isn't an Indiana-related question, but I think it was either after the Northern Illinois game or the Monday after Pete Sampson asked you whether you thought that your program had evolved beyond a performance like that. And at the time you said yes. I just wonder what your thought process has been over the last 10 games as far as, because you preach preparation so strongly with your team. I mean, do you live in perpetual prevention of upset alert at this point moving forward?
I mean, I would be lying if I say I don't think about, that loss or being upset. Fear is a motivator. It is what it is. A lot of people are motivated by fear or greed. And there's times that I have to remind myself what's the result of not preparing the right way. But sometimes it takes the performance that we had versus NIU to go back and say, okay, hold on. What lessons do we have to learn? You can't, if you knew exactly what it took, the perfect formula, you would correct it right when it's not right. But sometimes it takes going back and saying, okay, where didn't we prepare the right way? And that's after a win too. There's situations that happen in a win that you got to go back and say, okay, we didn't perform the way we needed to in this situation. Third down offense, third down defense, first down offense, whatever the situation may be, special teams. Hold on, is our preparation, is this something that's showing up in practice? If it's not, okay, was this a schematic thing that we weren't ready for? And I think that's the mindset I have. I still believe in preparation. I choose to believe that is the number one indicator that gives your program a chance to have success on Saturday.
Now, we've talked about this a bunch. That Marcus Freeman is still a young head coach, is still early in his journey as a head coach. And that's the sort of thing you have to take lessons from to make sure it never happens again. Now, I don't think you can turn on the Indiana tape from this year and not be impressed. So I don't think Notre Dame's going to look at this and be like, it's just Indiana. We're going to roll over these guys. But Notre Dame probably has better players at most positions than Indiana. Like, they should win this game. How do you prepare properly for this?
So after the Ohio State-Indiana game, I wrote a column about how Indiana's playoff candidacy cannot be determined on how close they play a team that at the time I perceived to be one of the best in the country. And now I'm thinking about it, and I'm wondering, where do you put Notre Dame on the pantheon of, well, I'm going to say it right now. Like, people are asking me, who do you like in the playoff? And Notre Dame is 14-1 to win it all. And I think that those are really tasty odds. Like,
It's a good price.
It's a good price.
Let's talk about Game Time. If you want tickets to any of these college football playoff games that are happening this weekend, you can get them on Game Time. And for some surprisingly good deals, you can get into Penn State, like around $100 if you want to watch that game. The 300,000+ seat stadiums that are hosting games, relatively reasonable prices for games this weekend. The one that's still pretty expensive but has come down quite a bit, it's actually feel like it's been cut in half in about a week, is the Indiana Notre Dame game. That's still a tough ticket. It's still in the $500 a seat range, but it was quadruple digits for most of the seats as of a week ago. So keep looking at Game Time. I'll give you an example. I've told you about when I got tickets for my wife and daughter to see Taylor Swift. We were watching him. We weren't going to buy him. We watched him over the course of several days before the show, woke up the morning of the show, and they had dropped dramatically. So you hit that GT Picks button in the Gametime app, it'll give you the best deals relative to the market of all the seats that are on the market. So if you're trying to figure this out last minute, like if you want to go to the Tennessee-Ohio State game in Columbus, or you want to go to the Clemson-Texas game, you may want to hold a little bit. Just keep checking Gametime over and over. Watch the trends. If it starts to go up, grab one before it goes up. If it starts to go down, see if it'll go down a little bit. But it is it's a very fluid market right now. But there are tickets available for all of these games. There are really good seats available for all these games on Gametime. If you use the code Staples, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Use the code Staples, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. They're all there. You want to go to one of these games, you can go. There are tickets. And in fact, there are reasonably priced tickets for quite a few of them.
But everybody just rolls their eyes like, oh, Notre Dame. Oh, yeah, right. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, okay. I think that there's this perception from the casual fan, or just from the fan in general, that Notre Dame lost to NIU and that they stink. But I think that Notre Dame is as close to Ohio State, at least from a defensive standpoint, as just about anybody else outside of Texas in college football this year. And I'm wondering if you take away Indiana's performance from Ohio State and bring it to this one. Like, is Notre Dame and Ohio State in your mind? And do you think that Indiana, though very good this year, is going to be susceptible to succumbing to just a more talented team? Because we have one sample size, one game of Indiana playing against a team that we think could win the national title. And they did not show up. Now, they were also
of their 11 wins, what was the toughest win to get? Michigan, when they were playing against a team with elite defensive talent. And this is the time to point out that Howard Cross, the nose tackle for Notre Dame, is going to be back this week. He hasn't played since the Florida State game. So that Cross and Riley Mills together, pretty formidable combo up the middle. Now, they've seen more. They've seen Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, so they've seen this at Indiana. But this Notre Dame defense is nasty.
So, yeah, I'm having a hard time with that, because it's like, do I think Indiana's a really good football team? Yes. Do I think that Indiana deserves to be in the playoff? Yes. Do I question whether or not they're equipped in year one of the Kurt Cignetti era to compete against a team that has really good players everywhere? I'm doubtful of that.
Yeah, this is the tricky part, because I believe in Cignetti. I believe that he will have this team ready. I believe he'll have them with the proper mindset. They will be exactly where they need to be. The game plan will be sound. Schematically, they'll do everything they can to attack the weakest parts of Notre Dame's team, like all of it. That said, if Notre Dame prepares properly and comes in with the correct mindset, they can just out-talent them. Like,
here's the difference.
We watched that Army-Navy game between two really good teams. Really good teams. Like, Navy was 9-3, Army was 10-2. Notre Dame crushed those teams because they had better players at the line of scrimmage. That's going to be the same situation here. Indiana's going to have to be perfect.
Here's the difference. Ohio State's rushing defense is number 7 nationally. Notre Dame's is number 51. So if you can find a way to run the football effectively, if you're Indiana, you might be able to put yourself in a much better position to compete in this game.
Indiana's had games where they've been effective on the ground.
Yeah. 2 scores is a tough thing to lay, but I think I'm going to lay it, Andy. I think Notre Dame can win this game by 10.
I will go back to what I just said. I trust Kurt Cignetti to have his team prepared, have the correct mindset, be in the right places, and have the right scheme. So I'm going to take Indiana to cover. I still think Notre Dame's probably going to win the game. You're going to give me 7.5 points, though. Yeah. I think Indiana is going to come prepared for this thing as well as they possibly can be.
You know, and you play this is the biggest game in Indiana history. game. This is a really big game for Notre Dame too. Really,
Oh
really,
yeah, this
really
is
big
huge
game
for Notre Dame.
for Notre Dame. So, in terms of motivation, I don't know that I would give the edge to either side on that. Like, I think they're both hungry. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, we're up
and
to
that's the other part. I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of came in with that. I do want to point this out. I don't think Notre Dame is going to come in thinking this is Northern Illinois. I also don't think Notre Dame's looking ahead to Georgia. Like, none of that. They have not won a game like this since the 90s. This would be a huge win. Like, and there's no, oh, it was Indiana. Like, no. If you win this game, it's a huge win. And like I said, I think Indiana will come with as good a game plan as you could possibly have to attack Notre Dame. Whether that's good enough, we're going to find out. But I at this point, I feel like we can trust Kirk Cignetti to do that. So Ari will take Notre Dame to cover. I will take Indiana to cover. I think we both think Notre Dame advances after this game.